War often reveals small problems with big consequences. In World War II, one of America's most trusted rifles had a hidden flaw. It wasn't obvious at first, but over time, it caused real pain. And surprisingly, the fix that helped solve it cost almost nothing at all. A powerful rifle, a painful mistake, and a simple fix that may have saved thousands of hands. Why keep watching? In this video, we'll explore a small but important problem with the M1 Garand. You'll learn what caused it, how soldiers dealt with it, and how a simple, low-cost solution made a real difference. By the end, you'll see how even tiny changes can shape history in quiet ways. The rifle that changed war. The M1 Garand was one of the most important rifles of World War II. It wasn't just another weapon, it represented a major shift in infantry firepower. Designed by John Garand, it became the standard service rifle for American forces during the war. It was reliable, semi-automatic, and powerful. At a time when many soldiers still used bolt-action rifles, this gave American troops a clear advantage on the battlefield. Instead of manually cycling every shot, soldiers could keep their focus on the target and the situation around them. They could fire faster, reload quicker, and stay in the fight longer. This increased rate of fire often made a critical difference in fast-moving combat situations, especially in Europe and the Pacific. For many soldiers, it became more than a weapon. It became something they trusted with their lives. Veterans often spoke about the confidence it gave them in intense moments, where hesitation could mean the difference between survival and defeat. But like many tools made for war, it wasn't perfect. It had its limitations, and in certain conditions, those flaws became very clear, leading to changes, improvements, and eventually, important fixes that shaped its legacy in military history. A small, painful problem. There was a moment during reloading that made soldiers uneasy. Not always, but often enough. When inserting a fresh N-block clip into the M1 Garand, the mechanism was under spring tension. As the clip seated fully, the bolt could snap forward with force. If a soldier's thumb was still in the way, it could get caught instantly. This became known among troops as Garand Thumb. It wasn't an official term, but it spread quickly through experience and word of mouth. For new soldiers especially, it was almost a rite of passage, something they learned to avoid the hard way. It wasn't always serious. In many cases, it was just a sharp pinch or a bruised thumb. But it could be painful enough to draw attention at the worst possible time. And in combat, even a small distraction could matter. In some situations, it may have slowed soldiers down during critical moments when speed and focus were everything. Reloading drills had to be practiced repeatedly until they became second nature, so that hesitation didn't cost valuable seconds. Imagine being in a stressful situation. Your heart is racing. Your hands are shaking. Gunfire is nearby. And now, your thumb is injured or caught at the worst moment. Not ideal. Why did it happen? The M1 Garand used an internal magazine that held 8 rounds. These were loaded using a metal clip. When the clip was pushed down, the bolt was under tension that it wanted to move forward. Normally, soldiers were trained to keep control of the bolt. They would press the clip in and quickly move their hand away. But under pressure, mistakes can happen. Sometimes the bolt closed too soon, and the thumb didn't get out of the way in time. If you've ever used a tool that snapped shut unexpectedly, you might understand how this feels. Training versus reality. In training, soldiers learned how to avoid this problem. They practiced proper technique again and again. Thumb in, push the clip, move fast. It worked most of the time. But real combat is different. There is noise, confusion, and in those moments, even simple tasks can go wrong. The rifle didn't fail, but the design left little room for error. Over time, soldiers developed habits and muscle memory to reduce the risk. Instructors emphasized repetition until the action became automatic. Yet even the best training could not fully replicate battlefield conditions. Stress changes everything. Decision-making slows. Small mistakes become more likely. And when hundreds of soldiers are doing the same motion under pressure, even a rare issue can appear often enough to matter. That is why feedback from the field was so important. Reports from soldiers didn't just describe enemy movements, They also described equipment behavior in real situations. Those reports eventually shaped improvements and design discussions. Engineers studied how the rifle was used, not just how it was intended to be used. Because in war, theory and reality are never the same. The M1 Garand remained trusted. Even the best designs must account for human limits under stress. Stories from the field. Some veterans later shared their experiences. They described the sudden snap, the sharp pain, the surprise. For some, it was just a quick lesson learned in training or early deployment. For others, it became a small but unforgettable moment that stayed with them long after the war ended. These weren't major injuries most of the time, but they were real. And they mattered. Because even small injuries can affect performance in critical situations. A split-second delay, a moment of hesitation, or a brief loss of focus. In combat, those small disruptions can carry more weight than they seem to on paper. Everything moves fast, and there is rarely time to recover from even minor setbacks. That's why soldiers paid attention to every detail of handling their weapon, no matter how small it seemed in training versus reality. Searching for a solution. The military didn't ignore these issues. Over time, small improvements were considered. Some changes focused on training, others looked at the equipment itself. The goal was simple: make the rifle safer to handle, without changing what made it effective. And this is where the $1 fix idea begins to take shape. The simple fix. One of the simplest solutions was not expensive. It didn't require redesigning the entire rifle. Instead, it focused on technique and small adjustments. Soldiers were encouraged to use the edge of their hand or to keep slight pressure in a way that controlled the bolt. Some also used simple tools or modified habits to reduce risk. In essence, it was about working with the rifle more carefully. A small change, but one that could reduce injuries. It's interesting how sometimes the best solutions aren't complex, they're just simple ideas used at the right time. Why it matters? You might wonder, why focus on something so small? Because in war, small things add up. A minor injury can slow a soldier down. It can affect confidence, and it can change how someone handles their equipment. By reducing even small risks, armies can improve overall effectiveness. This wasn't about perfection. It was about making something good a little better. The human side of design. The M1 Garand was a remarkable rifle that helped shape the outcome of battles. But it also reminds us of something important. Every tool is used by a human being, and human factors matter. Comfort, safety, ease of use. These things may seem small, but they can have real impact over time. Lessons beyond the battlefield. This story isn't just about a rifle. It's about problem solving. Sometimes we expect big problems to need big solutions, but that's not always true. A small fix, a slight change in technique, or a better understanding of how something works. These can make a real difference. Have you ever solved a problem with a simple fix? It's often more satisfying than a complicated one. A quiet improvement. The $1 fix wasn't a dramatic invention. It didn't make headlines, but it helped. It showed that even in large systems, small adjustments matter. And over time, these improvements can shape how equipment is used and understood. Looking back, today, the M1 Garand is remembered as one of the great rifles of its time. Collectors admire it, historians study it, and stories like this remind us that history is full of small details. Details that don't always make it into textbooks, but still played a role. In the end, the story of the M1 Garand and its small flaw is not about failure. It's about learning. It shows how people adapt, how they solve problems, and how even simple ideas can improve something important. Not every solution needs to be complex. Sometimes, it just needs to work. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe for more.